Welcome back to the Chicago Tomahawk. I'm Mike, got my partner Matt with me, and today we're going to briefly talk about the Chicago Blackhawks allegations. We're going to talk about the Lightning and Habs Stanley Cup Finals. Matt actually has it on the tube over there. He's watching 1-0 Lightning right now. And we'll start off with predictions for that. Matt, what are your predictions for the Stanley Cup Final?
I think it's going to be the two best goalies going at it, since Dallas is Eddie Belfour and Buffalo's Dominic Hasek.
Wow.
So you got Carey Price for the Canadians in net, who's Hall of Famer. He deserves a cup. Great goalie. Been on some bad teams, some good teams, and they're close. But I think Vasilevsky is too good. Tampa's offense is too good, and I could see them winning in 6.
Lightning in 6?
Lightning in 6.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with Habs in 6. I think that they're riding a luck streak going on here, and I don't think their luck has run out yet. I think Corey Price may be the definitive factor in this series. Mm-hmm. If he plays out of his mind, they have just as good of a chance as Tampa Bay. If he plays any worse than what he's been, which has been stellar, it's going to be a bloodbath. But hey, we'll see though, man. If Braden Point comes in and keeps on doing what he's doing, they might make quick work out of the Habs. So I think that those are the big things. Is Braden Point going to be the deciding factor here? To be honest with you, man, I think that Braden Point has been their number one player.
Yeah, he saved them. I mean, Stamkos was hurt. He's hurt a lot. Kucherov was hurt, and this guy was the goal scorer. He was the DeBrincat of the Lightning. And I want to get back to what you were saying about the Habs. And I know Carey Price is the man there, but a lot of people are not talking. Well, they are talking now about Philip Deneau. If he plays like a David Bolin did in 2010, they have a chance to win. Mm-hmm. They could beat the Lightning. And he has to bring it every night against this team because they have so much firepower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. The guy doesn't get really any credit or any.
It's because he's not scoring goals, but he's just a good center. And seeing him start his career in Chicago, it's like, oh, he's gone, and we could have had a guy. We could have had him still. It pisses me off.
Yeah, the thing is, I think when he was even playing with the Hawks, they wanted him.
He was a call up.
Yeah, they wanted him to be a goal scorer, and that's not his game.
Well, I don't think that's what they wanted Bolin too.
Right?
They wanted they London Knights. This guy's a goal scorer. No, not all guys are going to be like that. And
right.
I'm glad they were patient with Bolin.
Yeah, no kidding. He completely developed into a different type of player. But moving on to the elephant in the room, everybody's talking about it. It's huge. The sexual assault allegations of the 2 lawsuits that have been brought against the Chicago Blackhawks. In quick story behind it, in 2008, from 2008 to 2010, the Blackhawks had their video coach, who was Brad Aldrich, and in their cup-winning year, he's accused of sexually harassing a player. It is the player has not been named. He's known as John Doe, and this player brought it to his skills coach, which was Paul Vincent. He spoke to the mental skills coach, and then he brought it to Al McIsaac, Stan Bowman, and John McDonough. They had a meeting. They called Paul Vincent in, and Paul Vincent had recommended that they contact the Chicago Sex Crimes Division, and they denied his request. And here's the thing about it. Going from this point on, there's a lot that I want to touch on this, and I'm losing my train of thought. But I'm going to keep on going with the story. So that summer, Brad Aldrich leaves, and he goes on to another opportunity, I believe, in Florida, and then he goes on to another opportunity in Michigan. And at each place, he got positive references from the Chicago Blackhawks. He gets an assistant coaching position at a Michigan high school, and he does something, and he is charged with sexual harassment of a 17-year-old, and he was found guilty, 4th-degree sexual harassment.
I have to involving stop you right here for a minute. So I coach for USA Hockey. You have to get a background check.
Right.
You have to get your fingerprints. It's a background check, and you have to get screened. There's a class on it. How did this guy not get questioned by USA Hockey? How is Stan Bowman going to be the head of USA Hockey by picking the team representing us with the Olympics?
Right.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. All the stuff you got to go through to be a kid's coach. This guy is USA Hockey coach college.
Right.
It's like the highest level, it's insane. But sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to throw that out there.
So somehow this guy, actually that's kind of hammering the point. Him getting a positive reference for the Chicago Blackhawks is believed why he was able to get this position. So he's charged with fourth degree, sexual harassment. He's a registered sex offender now in Michigan, and this kid is suing the Blackhawks, or I should say his family is suing the Blackhawks because they believe that it is because of their positive reference, which allowed this guy to continue to coach and to continue to do these things. Okay. Now there's a couple points that need to be made here. I've been on Reddit and I've been messaging with people about this, talking about it. And one thing that comes up that I think that is completely out of context is, where is Jonathan Toews during all of this? First of all, the players have absolutely nothing to do with this. This is a management problem. Okay. A player had an issue with the video coach. He told management about it, and management decided to do nothing about it. This has nothing to do with Jonathan Toews. This has nothing to do with Patrick Kane or any of the other players.
Yes, they don't hire coaches.
Yeah,
they're not. They don't have that power.
Yeah, they're not the people to say, "Oh, we're going to do something about this," because there's nothing that they can do. This information was taken to the people that make decisions and the people that are supposed to act on it, and they did nothing. So the captain of the team leads the team on the ice, and he doesn't take care of these kinds of issues off of the ice, because for all that we know, this player may have told his friends and other players that, I don't want you guys to say anything about this because I don't want my family to know about it, or I don't want it made public because I'm embarrassed that this happened, and these are some legitimate reasons why players haven't said anything, minding their own business, which is something that a lot of people don't do these days. And the blame falls squarely on John McDonough, Stan Bowman, and we'll throw Al McIsaac into it too, because they were in the room, and they were the ones who made the decision. I guess ultimately it goes down to John McDonough, but still, Bowman could have said something like, "This is ridiculous. I don't stand behind this because it's wrong. And this is a question that is A or B, white or black, hot or cold, in an ethics class in college," which I'm sure that Stan Bowman and John McDonough have taken. This is like ethics 101. What happens if somebody comes to you with sexual assault allegations? What do? Sweep it under the rug, or notify the authorities and contact the appropriate people about it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I hate to bring like religious talk into this, but the Catholic Church did this with their priests. Like I went to a Catholic school. One of our Christian brothers in the 70s was, doing inappropriate things. And then when I was there in 2004, I believe, they sent him somewhere else. And it's like, okay, you sent him somewhere else. What is that guy going to do somewhere else? That's pretty much what the Hawks did. They enabled it. And I'm behind that family in Michigan because it's bullcrap.
It is. It is. And, I think the hardest thing is that people are wanting answers, and they want answers today. As of today, an investigation has been launched by an outside law firm that has no connections with the Blackhawks, has never worked with the Blackhawks before, and has not worked or does not work with the NHL. So they are completely independent, and it's being led by a former federal prosecutor. And they're going to investigate. This case, and then they're gonna let everybody know what they find in it, whether it's bad or good. So we'll see what happens, but it's really hard not to jump to conclusions, man. It's really hard not to jump to conclusions when something like this pops up, because I've been a Blackhawks fan for a long time, man, and this isn't something that I stand for. I don't stand for people being silenced. I don't stand for the weak not getting their time or being preyed upon. And if this happened, then Danny Wirtz needs to make some tough calls here. He's going to have to fire some people, because if I remember correctly, Danny Wirtz wasn't really a part of the organization.
This is Rocky too.
In 2010,
100% Rocky.
And to be honest with you, man, Rocky runs the organization with a very hands-off approach, meaning
he pays people to do it for
right.
him.
So he's not a
he's not an everyday.
He's not
ops
like
guy.
a Jerry Jones from the Dallas Cowboys, like the owner and the GM, where he's running day-to-day operations. He
funds it.
Everything
and he wants
was
results.
Everything was put forth at McDonough. McDonough ran the whole show, and Rocky signed the checks, essentially. But that does not mean that there's no responsibility that falls on here, and ultimately the responsibility may fall onto Rocky to have to make some tough decisions here.
Do you think he even knew about it?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't think so.
I don't think so either, and I think McDonough leaving or getting canned, I don't know if maybe this had something to do with that, but I think I was never a McDonough guy, so I mean I'm not. And this is not cool. If he knew about it, they should have said something. Maybe he resigned, but we're never going to know unless McDonough gets involved in this.
It's pretty suspicious.
He should man up and say, "Hey, I left for this reason.
Yeah,
I didn't agree with it." That would help out. That would help this case out a lot.
Well, to be honest, I mean, he's not going to say, "Well, Stan Bowman decided we're not going to do this, and so that's why I left." He's the guy in charge. You don't have.
He was the president.
Yeah. You don't have your people under you tell you what to do. Essentially, you make the decision, and then it falls on you. Now, I think that it's very, looking at last summer, McDonough being fired and then Bowman being promoted to president. I wonder if something came to light about this. If maybe Bowman went to Rocky and said, "Look, these allegations are coming up. I specifically told McDonough that we need to contact the sex crimes division, and he told us that we're not going to do it. But I told him this years ago. This is coming up. This is what happened. This is the truth." And Rocky's like, "You got to go, John. That's it. Stan, you get a promotion, and Danny, you're going to oversee the business. You're going to oversee the business aspects."
Yeah.
Along with I forgot her name, the woman who's running the business side of things.
How would you like to be her? Your first year, and this gets placed on your desk.
It's rough.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest with you, it really has nothing to do with her, because she's I mean, in a way, she's not responsible for what happened or what is going to happen, considering that she's running the business portion of the business for the Blackhawks. This falls on Stan, because Stan was there, and Al McIsaac, and I'm sorry, I left out Gary. What's his name? Gary Wilkes.
I honestly don't.
He was the skills coach. Not the skills.
They were asking Mark Bergevin.
No, he was
GM.
the mental skills coach, and Mark Bergevin was there, wasn't he?
Knowledge, he said.
He was the director of personnel development at the time.
Players, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but he said that he had no knowledge of it, which, to be honest with you, it's pretty convenient to say. But
when your team's in the final, you gotta say, "Hey, I'm worried about the cup right now." You know,
who knows? And what if he signed something?
Yeah, who knows? And then you got Shovel Dayoff, right? The GM of the Jets. He was involved in it too.
Yeah, he wasn't in the meeting though, where they denied where
they denied him
where they denied that they were not going to pursue litigation with the sex crimes division. It was Al McIsaac.
So
I think I got to look this guy's name up because I don't want to get this wrong.
So if you're in that office, don't you think everybody in that office that had something to do with it should be canned?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's largely dependent on their stance on it, because this was John McDonough's. John McDonough is solely responsible for for that decision because he's the one in charge.
He was the president.
He could, Paul McIsaac and Stan could have been like, "Look, we absolutely need to get the Chicago PD involved," and McDonough could have said, "Absolutely not. We are not doing that." Yeah. And if
this was 2010, right?
Right.
Well, we know why it wasn't.
Right.
When you're in the when you're in the final for the first time in since 91, and you're about to win your first Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
You don't want any of that bad press, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
So, well, hey. So, do you remember when we were younger? You were probably in high school. I was probably just going into high school. Theo Fleury. You remember that incident?
Yeah.
A lot of people that now follow the Hawks probably have no idea. The Hawks have always been like this. Yeah. So Theo Fleury went to a bar, strip club, with Phil Housley. Great American-born defenseman. Phil Housley was playing great on the Hawks that year. I'm not sure. Was it 2002 or 2004 or something?
I want to say it was 2002.
So the Hawks were doing great that year. And then this happened. Theo Fleury gets arrested. Theo Fleury gets put into the NHL abuse substance program.
Yeah, he had cocaine
Phil
issues.
Housley gets traded, which he was awesome that season. I remember watching him. He was doing great. Tyler Arneson was the only one left that was there that stayed on the team. But no one knows about it because they're so tight-lipped about stuff. They won't talk about it.
And what's ironic about that is Phil Housley and Theo Fleury played for Calgary at my first Blackhawks game that I went to.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man. I was a big Phil Housley fan. And when Theo Fleury was signed with the Hawks, I went to a game, and I'll never forget this. He was skating in warm-ups, throwing pucks to kids, giving them winks, and kids were like, "Oh, that's great," And I'm like, "Man, this guy's pretty freaking cool," And I know he's had a rough life, Theo Fleury. I don't know if you read his book. He's been, abused by his what do they call
high school coach, right? Or his mite coach?
High school coaches. He's lived with families when he was in junior hockey, and they abused him, some people, and he's just had a rough life. But anyway, not a lot of people know about it. So if you don't know about it and you want to learn about it, Google it because it's kind of interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
His the guy that I'm referring to is James Gary, and he was the mental skills coach. So okay. James Gary, Al McIsaac, Stan Bowman, and John McDonough were in this meeting with Paul Vincent, who was the skills coach at the time. And Paul Vincent told them that they need to go to the Chicago Sex Crimes Division, and it was ultimately decided upon that they would not do that. And I honestly think that decision falls solely on John McDonough.
I think Stan Bowman has to take some responsibility too, because I'm sure he had a lot to do with hiring that guy in the first place, because John McDonough is not a hockey guy.
Right.
He will never be a hockey guy.
Right.
That's why they relied on Bowman, Dale Talon, all those guys.
Well, who knows? I mean, who knows if anybody even knew about this guy when they were hiring that he had these issues.
Yeah, and even Sopel came out, Nick Boynton came out saying, "Hey, they'll help. They can vouch for these people claiming abuse against this guy because they've seen it and they've heard about it." So I wonder who the player is. Could
you imagine it if it came out and it was Jonathan Toews?
If it was Toews, isn't it kind of funny too? Think about it. Adam Burish was a part of our program, the broadcast team. You know, he was on with Sharpie. He was on with Pat Boyle.
Yeah.
He's gone. He just disappeared. You know?
I know recently he had a kid.
Well, I'm not going to say, hey, it's got to be Burch. I'm not trying to guess, but I'm like, you think about this stuff. Like, this guy was involved with our organization. He just disappeared. It's like, why? You know?
Yeah.
And
he was huge on the, you know, to be honest with you, with NBC Sports shuttering their sports division, you know, they could have easily just said, hey, we're making some cuts and Burch is out.
You could be right. But you know what? But this is what my wife said to me when I was telling her what's going on with the Hawks, because she didn't know what was going on. I said, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, you know what? These guys are hockey players. She's like, they're physically fit. They're big. And don't you think if a guy tried to do this to you, like, you would just go off on the guy? She goes, I know you would. And you're a 5'8", 170-pound guy that would say, hey, don't ever freaking do that to me again. And wouldn't you, I don't think the guy had power over these players. Do you? I see, like,
well,
I could, you know what I mean? It's still, I'm not saying what he did was right, but don't you think these players would have pounded this guy?
Well, I think
you know what I'm saying?
Well, here's the thing. I think that he had some sway because as being a coach on whether
and he used his power
whether
over
you're getting ice time or not. And if you're not getting ice time, you know, you're not getting your opportunity to play. You're not getting your opportunity to play. You're losing monetarily and your value is going down as a player. So he held that over them, which is pretty much everything.
Well, I don't think you'd pull that shit on Ben Eager, because Ben Eager would physically kill you.
Yeah.
You know, even Colin Frazier.
Yeah.
Colin Frazier. So, you know what? It could have been a guy. And I hate to play this guessing game, guess who, but
I don't think that we should either.
No, it's not appropriate, but it's like you think, like you just said with Taves, you think that's why he's sitting, but then they're lying about his illness, but it's just
No, I don't think they're lying about his illness. I think that maybe there is something wrong. I'm just saying, thinking about if it was a big time player, man, this would rock the bedrock of what the Chicago Blackhawks
this would be terrible. That would be absolutely heartbreaking and backbreaking to your Jonathan Taves says, oh God, that he'd be gone. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. You know, and I hope these players don't say, I can't believe they let this go so long. I'm out of here too. And it's like, oh my God. Like, how do you recover from something like that?
Well, what happens is you clear out the front office is the first thing that you do. You get a new front office that runs
trust,
and then you have to sell the team.
Yep. Oh, geez. Yeah, that would be insane.
You'd have to. I mean, because there comes to a situation where there's no going back. You know, and that's why doing the right thing is the most important thing, because there comes a point of no return. And if Rocky knew about this, he's going to have to sell the team, man. In the culture that we live in today, and you know what, the league will probably make a big deal out of it and tell Rocky, you got to sell the team, because they
have the power to, right?
They do. Number one, and number two is that Rocky selling the team would be huge for the league. It's original 6 team. I believe they're worth about $4 billion. That brings how do you say it, more monetary value to the other organizations, because right now they're estimated at what they're worth. Like the Rangers, Montreal, they're all estimated at what they're worth. If an original 6 team actually sold for $4 billion, that would give that these other teams like, yeah, we're definitely worth $5 billion, $6 billion if the Hawks are worth $4 billion. You know, a team like Montreal or even a team like Toronto, you know, which would bring more value to the league. So
say goodbye to the logo then.
Oh man, you know what?
That's the truth.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to leave that out of it, because that's another argument and that's another discussion for I would say a different time.
Well, I could see a new owner saying, hey, first we're going to do this because this is the right thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's going to make a point. we're jumping way ahead.
Sure,
but
sure.
You know, you don't want to. I mean, Rocky's done great things. I mean, since he's got the team from his dad dying, he inherited it, and he's done nothing but great things. Sure, there's going to be bad things. I mean, every team goes through stuff, but this is just, it's too long. It should have been stopped, like you said, in that office. Yes, let's do the right thing,
right?
Not under the rug. And now, like we were talking about before, we were recording. I don't see the Hawks doing anything now this summer. I think this is going to be too backbreaking for them to even. I'm surprised they're even going to go to the draft. It's probably going to be a terrible draft. Like, we'll take this guy because he's next.
Yeah.
It's like,
or and that's a big thing, man. Because if Stan Bowman has something to do with this, how do you send this guy to the draft? How do you have this guy negotiate for the team right now?
I don't know, man. I hopefully it's done before
this draft. Investigation has to be put on turbo drive.
It does. I mean, we're in the Stanley Cup Finals.
They got 4 weeks. I think the draft's in 4 weeks. The draft and free agency.
I mean, if you get a new GM, this poor guy, he's not going to sleep. He's got to depend on these scouts. He's got to. I mean, I would love the job if it was like, hey, we want you to be the GM because we like what you can do, and I'd be like, oh my God, I got to talk to my European scout. I got to talk to my Canadian, North American scout.
That's what you're supposed to do, though, isn't it, Matt?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like 4 weeks to prepare. You gotta. These guys are doing this in December.
Right?
They got guys like, hey, we've been watching this kid. He's gonna be. I think he's he's underrated, and he's. They got him at like 10. We could probably get him if we're lucky. If we do our homework. And
I'd imagine that they have a head of scouting. I would imagine they have a head of scouting that actually briefs the GM on everything.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, what if they dismissed everybody? Like anything that had something to do with anything. Like they don't want anything with Bowman's name on it or signature. Yeah. It's like
our scouting's actually been pretty good, man.
Yeah, we've been lucky. I think we've been lucky. We got that 3rd round pick with Kirby.
Yeah,
but I think Bowman's
that number 3 pick. You mean?
Yeah, the number 3 pick overall.
Right.
But I think we've struck out on a lot of first rounders. I think, and Bodquist is going to be another one of the list. I think.
Do you think that's a development issue, like a coaching thing, and not necessarily the player?
Yeah, kind of, because he's not really patient with these guys.
Right.
Nick Leddy.
Yeah.
Well, he was a trade, but he gives up on guys a little too soon. Maybe it was a Q thing too. Yeah. Maybe Q knew what he wanted.
Oh yeah, that's like, another one. Q was on the team.
Yeah, geez. Well, he's just a head coach. He's almost pretty much, I consider him a player. You know what I mean? He's puts out his lineup every night, and he's got his style. I don't think he has something to do with, like, hey, I want this guy to. Yeah, he's another guy. If someone tried to pull something on him, I could see Q throwing a dude through a freaking door. Just. But it's just a bad dark cloud over an organization that's been pretty good to the city in the last decade, and it's probably gonna it's gonna scare away a lot of fans.
They've done a lot of good things for the West Side right there. Because I remember driving in there, man. It was like Gotham City for a long time.
Yeah, it's rough, man. It's rough in the city. I work in the city a lot. It's not cool sometimes unless you're north and you don't have to worry about someone, jumping you for $1. It's insane, and it's not safe over there. But I know they build a couple shops over there. They got that new practice rink.
Yeah,
pretty close. That's beautiful.
The Fifth Third.
I like how they put the statues of Makita and Hall. That looks awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks nice over there now, and and they're giving these people jobs. At games you see these guys ushering, they're selling beer, they got parking ushers, I guess if you could call them that, and they do great things, and people don't notice that stuff, but because this is going to be overshadowing it.
Yeah. So we will provide an update for this as it goes along. This is obviously going to be something that's developing.
There's
by
no
the
good
day.
out of it.
And we'll take it as it goes. We're also going to write an article about this if you guys want to listen to it, or I'm sorry, read it on that FHN net, the Face Up Hockey Network, which we're a member of. And we've got a lot of content coming out. We're going to be doing our podcast because it's the finals. We're going to be doing it 2 days a week. We're going to have articles coming out, and we're going to be posting on Twitter. Talk to us, send us some comments and some messages. We love to talk to you. We're on Facebook too. If you want to send us messages there, and get on there. I post the video of our podcast and the audio version on both Twitter and Facebook. So, if you've got your flavor, we've got it for you. But that's all that we got for you guys tonight. This is a TomaHawk, and we're out.